So good morning, everybody, and welcome to our
Morning.
Faith and Health Connection webinar this morning, Community Gardening. It's all in the details. My name is Nicole Johnson. I'm the Director for Partners in Health and Wholeness, and we have some of our other staff on the call this morning, as well as our featured presenter, Crystal Mercer. We have Reverend Dr. Arlisha Simmons, and she is going to be doing our opening prayer this morning. We also have on the call today Stephanie Saunders, and if you are a part of the Partners in Health and Wholeness Collaborative, you probably have heard from her in the past. She's our Program and Engagement Administrator, and we are glad to have you on the call this morning. This is the first of a four-part Food and Faith series. We're going to talk about everything. The first one, this one's community gardening. The following ones are on successful food and faith partnerships with farmers. If you want to set up like a cooperative or a CSA agreement with a local farmer. We're also going to be talking about like healthy nutrition and healthy swaps that you can do for your big church gatherings. I think that's our last one. And then we're going to be having faithful families, and I think that one's in May. We'll have Kim Eshelman talking about healthy nutrition in our faith gatherings and what that can look like. So welcome to the first one. I'm very excited about it, and we are all glad you're here. I'll turn it over to Arlisha to do our opening prayer.
Good morning. Let us center our hearts as we would enter into this moment of prayer. Holy God, we thank you for this day that you have made and for this virtual gathering we call a sacred conversation. Creation began in a garden, an earthly paradise where there was an abundance and there was sufficiency. The garden was the place where species of both ground and air cared for each other and the plants and trees you called them to steward. Today, we come to learn how to better steward the land you have provided, as you have given us the strength and the vitality to plant and to tend. While our individual, communal, and governmental actions have not always proved our love for creation, creation groans as our selfishness has disrupted our climate and our neighbors lack food while we are in the land of more than enough. We ask forgiveness as we enter this conversation to learn how to reconcile and return to the care of seeds and plants and the trees you have entrusted to us. God, give us growing hands to feed not only our children, but those in need. Give us watering hands to continue the work that others have planted. And in this Easter season, allow us to see the resurrection of fruits and vegetables and seedlings planted at an earlier time, but still appear to have no life. May new life be revealed before our eyes, and may we forever be grateful for the yield of our gardens and our fields. God, help us to remember, respect, and seek justice and equality for those who tend our larger gardens, known as farms, and help bring food to our table. Bless today's speaker and grant her the grace and the strength to share what you have given her by way of training, experience, and your presence. This is our prayer. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Arlisha. It is my pleasure to introduce Crystal Mercer. I know some people have hopped on the call, so during our opening prayer. So greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are doing community gardening. It's all in the details. And we have Crystal Mercer with us this morning. She is the Community and School Gardens Agent at the North Carolina Cooperative Extension in Guilford County. Her role is to assist individuals, communities, agencies, and schools with establishing and sustaining community and school gardens through an asset-based community development model. She served over 6 years as the Extension Master Gardener Volunteer Coordinator, and she is a certified Master Gardener, which I hope to achieve one day. She holds a Bachelor of Administrative Science degree from Guilford College. So thank you for being with us this morning, Crystal, and we're going to turn it over to you. She's going to be doing the presentation today, and you can drop questions in the chat. And following the presentation, we'll have a question and answer session. So make sure you keep your questions while she's going through the presentation. If you think you're going to forget, put it in the chat and we will definitely monitor that and we'll get to your questions. Crystal?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. This is my favorite subject. It is about growing food, eating food, and sharing. So I'm just so happy that you would like to hear what we're doing here at the Cooperative Extension Office. And I want to thank Nicole for the invite. And also I had to steal her tagline. It is all about the details. Okay. Get this started. Okay. Let's begin about the 2 land-grant universities. And this is a history lesson. I'm sure many of you already know about this, but A&T State University and NC State are both land-grant universities. And I want to tell you how it all got started. Back in 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Morrill Act, which established these land-grant universities. And the Morrill Act was established to teach mechanical and agricultural and military science. So what became out of this Morrill Act was NC State University. Now, people of color were excluded from educational opportunities at the land-grant universities. So there was a second Morrill Act of 1862. And in 1890, when it became law, we birthed the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, which was founded in 1891. And their goal was to teach people of color and to have access to education, especially in agriculture and mechanical arts. Okay, what is the cooperative extension? The cooperative extension bridges the gap between the North Carolina A&T State University and NC State and Guilford County. And we offer programs in agriculture, food and nutrition, 4-H, environment and natural services, natural resources, home and families, and community and rural development. Now, I want to ask you a question. What is a community garden? There are no wrong answers, but what do you think a community garden is? Anybody can just shout it out.
I guess I hear the community part. So I think like kind of a group maybe.
Right. It's just, it's a gathering of people that come together to garden. Mm-hmm. And this is a prime example. This is a picture from High Point, North Carolina. This is the Burns Hill Community Garden community. And the produce that's grown there is given out to the community. And they can take as much as they want. There are no fences around. The garden is in a community. You walk by it, you want something, you could just walk up and get it. And that's how they designed this community garden. Okay, here are the common definitions, and I'm sure you've heard of these things, but here are common definitions and common language when it comes to community gardens. Community gardens are plots of land that a group of people grow. They grow food, herbs, and other plants on. Sustainable food system is a food system that delivers food security and nutrition for all. And I should have highlighted this, but is food security and nutrition for future generations and make sure they are not compromised. Food sovereignty is the right of people to healthy and culturally appropriate food products, and their right to define their own food and agricultural systems. And we're also going to talk about the 5 sectors of a food system. There's the supply, which is production. And there's the developer, transformation and processing. Distributor and marketing. You got your consumer, the consumption. Resource management, the 5 sectors. And also there are 5 community assets. There's equity. The economy has a part. The environment, wellness, education, and policy. And so when you look at the whole picture, this is the whole sector of our food system. Okay, we're going to get into a little bit of history now. The first documented community garden in the United States was in Winston-Salem. The Moravians, they established Bethesda in 1753. That's Bethesda. They planted community gardens and families shared the produce and they harvested from the gardens. And that was in 1753. There's other gardens. There's one called Potato Patches, and there's a mayor, I think his name was Mayor Pingree. He started his program in response to the economic recession back in 1893. It provided unemployed workers with plots of land on vacant city lots. And they also provided seeds and tools. And they also gave them instructions, which was printed in 3 languages on how to grow gardens. School gardens came along after the urban gardens faded. There was a major advocate. Her name was Fanny Griscom Parsons. She created a large educational garden at DeWitt Clinton Park, New York. And she had hoped to connect recent immigrant children to nature as they adapted to urban life. And there's a picture of their garden that was started at the school. I think that's pretty massive for a school garden. Liberty Gardens. There were Liberty Gardens during World War I. There was a massive shortage of food production. In 1917, Charles Pack organized the U.S. National War Garden Commission, and they launched this war garden campaign. And you can see the lady just tossing, throwing seeds out into this garden. The campaign promoted the cultivation of available private and public lands. These Liberty Gardens also resulted in over 5 million gardens in the United States. And the foodstuff production exceeded $1.2 billion by the end of the war. Here are more, this is a publication that was produced by the Ag Office back during the wartime. And they had maps of how you can grow and where you can grow the peas and the size of gardens and what is you can plant in the summer, what you can plant in the winter, in the fall and the summer. And so they came up with this big campaign and publications. Victory Gardens during World War II, reports estimated about 1944 between 18 to 20 million families with Victory Gardens were providing 40% of the vegetables in America. After the war, suburban sprawl happened and people opt for private backyard gardens. And this gentleman in the picture, he decided to put his garden in the front. And he is tending to his garden on a Sunday morning. And this is in New York. Urban revitalization happened during the 60s and the 70s, and that was during a environmental and social movement. Las Paselas Garden in the Norris Square neighborhood in Philadelphia, it was more than just a garden. They had murals and a teaching space, and it was designed to celebrate and educate visitors about the Puerto Rican heritage. Murals in the gardens also honored leaders in the community, and they depict the passing down of traditions to younger generations. Back in the 70s, there was a young woman named Liz Christie. She started the Green Guerrillas. This is a grassroots organization. There's something called seed bombs, and what they would do is they would ride around a vacant lot and just toss out seeds into that area in that lot and just let things grow. It was either flowers or they did a lot of flower beds in vacant buildings. So it was just beautiful, wonderful. I got some more pictures for you. And Bowery Houston Community Farm and Garden was the first community garden in that city. It was on the Lower East Side Gardens. Gardeners built 60 vegetable beds, eventually added trees to the site later. And Bowery Houston Community Farm, and this is a representation of 1831, what it looked like at Brower Houston Community Farm in 1831. And look at 1973. That's the same area. This is Liz. She's promoting her plan for that garden. And they got it all planned out. And the next slide is they got the land, they got it all ready and prepped for a garden. And to your right is what it looks like today. Benefits of community gardens. You meet new friends, you become a community, and you learn from each other. And gardening is for anybody. Health, you're more likely to eat something that you have grown. And you can also try out a whole wide variety of different types of fruits and vegetables. And it's nutritious. Gardening also decreases stress and increases physical activity. You can save money by eating what you grow. You spend less at the grocery store. Some community gardeners earn income by selling the produce they grow. And in addition to a wealth of plant growing information, gardeners teach planning, organization, and teamwork. Also, you become connected with nature. Pollinators, birds, and you learn to appreciate bees and anything else that's in the garden, even your black snakes, you'll come to appreciate them. And as expected, benefits of school garden is the same thing. Health, there's a community, there's learning, there's life skills. And also there's entrepreneurship in some schools, and they raise, that's how they raise money, is by selling produce and plants to help keep their gardens going. Okay, there are 5 steps. I try to break it down to 5 steps to a successful gardening. And in this picture, they're using the square foot gardening. And you talk about it's all in the details. It's all in the details. And they've already mapped out square foot gardening. Number 1, step 1, gather your community. You're going to need to build a leadership team, at least 5 to 10 people. And because it takes at least, it's a lot of responsibility maintaining a garden. I have seen some gardens have 2 people, but, and that's because the garden is small, but there's an average of between 5 to 10 people to take on that responsibility. That's in the leadership. You have to decide who is that garden for. Is it for your community? Is it for your congregation, or both? You can always donate to community kitchens and to food banks. So figure out how you want to, what you want to do about that garden, and why, and also why is a new garden right for you? Do you want to start with a new area, a new garden, a new lot, new land, or you can always join another community garden that's already got everything established. So there's a few things that gives you options to think about when you want to gather your community together, and always involve your neighbors and people in that garden. Let them have a say on it as well. And I always like to ask people, what do you want? I'm not going to come to you and say, hey, you need a garden. You need a community garden in your area. Always ask what they want. They may not want that. Step 2, integrate the garden. What are your goals? How will the garden be managed? Will it be a communal or an allotment garden? Or it will be some combination of both. And there are pros and cons to both allotments and communal gardens. And a allotment garden is a plot that's assigned to a family or an individual, and they grow the food for themselves. That's an allotment.
So in the allotment garden, they manage their little portion of that's on the part of the community garden, right?
Right.
Okay,
It requires the pro is it requires less coordination if it's an allotment, and also gardeners take on more of a responsibility, okay, for their own plots. Now, there's some cons. It's less guidance for new gardeners that come in. Somebody's got to stop and help, especially if they are new to it and they want to learn more. So it's less for them to learn. And another con is crop rotation is very, very difficult when you have a communal garden. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. An allotment is less rotation it's difficult in allotments. In a communal garden, there's more guidance for new gardeners. There's better crop rotation. The con is gardeners take less responsibility, and few people do the work. And it does require more coordination. Also, what's something that's really important is develop leadership roles, committees, and garden guidelines, and sometimes you have to do garden rules. And this is a great example of the gardens that I manage. It's called the Mixed Greens Community Gardens. And this is a day, and this is the This is our leadership team. There's a few more members missing in this picture, but this is our leadership team. The 15th of every month, they go out and they go into the community garden and they check and see if there's a weed in, weeds that need to be taken care of, or maybe there's a problem with a spigot, or maybe there's the water's off and they have to notify me to find out, contact our Gifford County facilities to see why the water's off. But they keep them, they go around 15th every month just to check on the garden for us. In this picture here, of course, when you use wooden boards for gardens, over time, they will start to decay and they start to fall apart. So here they're going around and they keep an account of what needs to be replaced, okay? And so they are putting in priority. Whose bed is going to be the first on the list to get done? Whose bed's going to be the second on the priority list? So that's the kind of management that are given to our management team. They make decisions when we have meetings. They make decisions on, we'll take a vote. What do you think? Should we grow thornless blackberries in the garden? Well, if we grow thornless blackberries, we can't grow them in the plot. We have to find us another section. So they all decided, hey, we'll find another section in the garden just for blueberries and just for raspberries and just for other things like growing hibiscus, because it takes up so much space in a plot. Step number 3, find a garden site. That garden site has to be visibly accessible. It's got to have at least 8 hours of direct sunlight, and it's got to be close to some kind of water access. You're going to need written permission from the landowner. So if you see some land and you walk up and say, this would be a perfect place for a garden, you still got to find out who owns it and who has permission. Even if it's at a congregation or at the pastor's got to be on board, or somebody's got to be on board. You can't just say, oh, we're going to have a garden and nobody knew about it, but so you just got to get permission. Check with your city's planning department about permits, liability insurance, or any other kind of requirements. And especially if you start digging, you're going to need to call 811 for any kind of digging. Okay, can someone tell me why this area does not work for a garden?
It's not enough sunlight.
Not enough sunlight. That's not enough sunlight. And guess what? There's a garden back there that's not surviving at all.
Mm-hmm. Too close to the trees.
That's exactly right. Those are the kind of things you look out for, especially if you walk into an area and there are no leaves on the trees. You got to make sure when those leaves start to grow in, where are you going to get your shadows and your shade? Step number 4, develop the garden. Design the garden with input from the community, especially future gardeners. You might want to do a bed for the kids to have their own space. And if you notice, if the bed is a little bit smaller, they can reach better inside. So just sit down and plan out what you want to do, and start small and build on success. Developing into phases is a really good way to do this. Identify your partners and support organizations who can help with resources and funding. Bring them on board. Bring them in and get them on your board, because you never know when you're going to need more resources to do more things to help your community, especially when you start to grow. Step number 5. Once you get this garden started, you want to make sure it's sustainable and it's going to be there for your community, and it's going to be there for you to have work days and educational workshops. Think about having garden tours just because, so everybody else will know what you're doing, as far as maybe somebody else would like to join or maybe help you. Provide education throughout the growing season, especially to new gardeners. And most importantly, please just have fun, because if you don't have fun doing this, it's not going to work at all. Have fun. Now, you know, there are 3 seasons of growing a garden. There's the spring, summer, and fall. If you have members of your congregation or members in your community who would say, you know, it's just too hot. It's too hot to do a garden in the summer. I don't think I can help you. Well, how about gardening in the spring and the fall? That's the coolest time of the year. And there's a lot of things you can grow in the spring and in the fall. And this is a picture of a family that came through our tour. We had a tour of our Mixed Greens Community Gardens, and they came through with their kids, and we had our gardeners there to talk to, answer questions and how they got started and why they got started, and what they like to grow, and what's their favorite vegetable to grow. So yeah, just involve the community as much as you can. I also want to share an app for your phone, whether it's a Android or a iPhone. This app is called SOW, and it's a free application. It was designed by A&T State University Extension Office and Alabama Extension Services. They came up with this app. It is a planting companion. It has a planting calendar. It has a garden record book, and it's all in the palm of your hands on your phone. And so it helps, I know you take your phone with you, but it helps to just look up information. And also it'll tell you how many estimated days to harvest tomatoes or okra or cabbage. So it's right in the palm of your hands.
And I put the link for that app in the chat if anybody would like to take a look at it.
It's just SOW, a planting companion. Share the harvest. What are you going to do with your produce? What are you going to do with, you have extra everything? What are you going to do? This is what we do in Guilford County. We have Share the Harvest. It is an all volunteer organization. It is a nonprofit. And they have volunteers that come in May through September. And they will come around, and our gardeners and communities, there's some communities that would just drop off produce. They donate 10% of their produce or fruit, and they'll drop it off at our location at several locations around the city. And those volunteers will go pick it up and take it to a food pantry or a community kitchen. And they've been around 12 years. It's been in existence. What does the Extension Office do all day long? Here are some of our reports that we had for our records for 2022. This is what we do. We agree that all people in Guilford County need food security. Food security means access by all people at all times to enough food for an active, healthy life. Here are the stats for hunger in Guilford County. And I'm sure you can find the same information for your county and your state through Feeding America. In Guilford County, we have 19% food insecurity rate. There are over 88,000 people with food insecurity, and over 23,000 of them are children. We have 24 food deserts. 17 are right here in Greensboro, and I work in a food desert. I grew up in a food desert, and that in my family neighborhood is still in a food desert. What are the trends? We're seeing seniors' needs increase. There's a decrease in supply. We have communities of color are more than two times likely to experience food insecurity. That's the upward tick. What are the causes? Poverty, unemployment, low income, lack of affordable housing, chronic health conditions, lack of health care. What are the effects? Health issues. Choosing between food, medicine, and healthcare. Difficult for a child to learn and grow. The list goes on and on. At the end, Nicole, we're gonna, I'll send you an evaluation for everyone to fill out. And this is, and when you fill this out, this is how we know that what you have learned from us, whether it's in-person workshops, whether it's online, but when we teach, we want to know how many people have really gained knowledge or skills. So in the year 2022, over 2,000 individuals gained and required skills related to vegetable and fruit growing, fruit gardening. Almost 2,000 participants growing food for home consumption as a result of our programming and receiving technical assistance. 2,800 participants use extension-related best management practices in their lawns, turf, and gardens. Community development, that's our outreach as well. Participants increase knowledge of local food and agricultural systems. What do we offer? We offer gardening resources, a mentor programming, volunteer opportunities, community events, site visits and technical support. We support new gardens. In Guilford County, I support over 150 community and school gardens. Okay. We publish research-based materials, and we have a garden directory on our website. Master gardeners, master gardener volunteers, they're involved as well. And they offer school garden mentors. So when a school wants to start a garden, we'll assign a master gardener volunteer to help that school through the process and even help them plan their curriculums through, whether it's a pollination gardens, or it's they want to do a fruit garden, whatever they want, we'll help them get started, help them with the offer of our curriculums.
Can you do the same for faith communities who want to start a community garden?
Actually, yes, ma'am, we sure do. We have mentors for schools and mentors for the community gardeners. Okay. Our site, they also offer site visits, and many times sometimes I can't make all the site visits, so I'll send some this way and I'll go that way. And but many times I love taking them with me because we all have something to share. I have master gardener volunteers who've been gardeners for 50 years. And they know some things. So when I take them with me on a site visit, I learn, and we just all learn together. So we'll help them with site selection and planning, advice on gardening, team management, information on where to get materials. And that's very, very, very important.
Crystal, forgive me,
yes.
may I ask a question? Did you say master gardeners were available to help with school gardens that are either food-based or flower-based? Is that true?
That's true.
Okay,
As long as it's school or youth garden.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. with their knowledge and expertise, they can go to a site and tell you whether it's going to work or not, whether if the ground is too wet, or if it's too much clay, or if it's on a slope. So we do site visits and we can help you through that process. So the school or our community may have to move that garden somewhere else. Funding opportunities, there are grants for community and school gardens through the Master Gardener Volunteers. Every year we have a plant sale, and that money is used to give out grants to community and school gardens, and especially the new schools. And there's new gardeners, and sometimes schools have to come back because they're going to add on to their school project, and they'll come back for another grant that next year. So that's where the money comes from, is from when we have our plant sales.
Do those grants have a cycle? Are they available at specific times of the year?
Yes, ma'am. They're offered mainly in the fall. The community gardens are in the winter, and the school gardens are in the fall. And so they're school gardeners. I think they're $250, and the community gardens are $300. But there's so many other resources. You need to contact me, and I can give you more for Guilford County. And Guilford County also includes High Point. So we just collaborate, and we help you as much as we can. If we don't know the answer, we'll find somebody to get you the answer. And especially if there's a problem with erosion, or they take specialists to come in, we'll call a specialist at NC State, and they'll come down to help with an erosion problem, and they'll make suggestions. There's been a lot of issues with trees, especially common trees of North Carolina. And we have access to the Guilford County Forest Rangers are here, and they would come out as free service to look at your tree and make recommendations. So we got it all here.
Yeah. And are the grants available like through Master Gardeners across the state? So like a lot of people on the call might be in a different county than Guilford County.
You need to contact your extension office, your local extension office, and also always go to your website as well. When you go to and type in, let's say you're in Vance County, type in Vance County Extension Office, you Google it, and it will let you know who is the county director, who's in the Master Gardener program, whether there's a Master Gardener program, but they're there to help. There are over 100 extension offices in this state, in every county in this state. Some have dairy agents and some don't. It depends on how large and how small those counties are. But in this county, we do have, so this is a big county. We have over 500,000 people in this county, but we have so many resources to offer.
Somebody had a question about how could they get info like on plant sales in Forsyth County?
In Forsyth County, they need to contact the Forsyth County Extension Office. In Guilford County, I can send that information to you, Nicole. I have a flyer.
Are the plant sales available to the public? Like, if a group's starting like a community garden, can they buy plants from the plant sale?
Yes. Yeah, anybody can come to our plant sale. It doesn't matter. It's open to the public. And also, if we have anything left over, we usually donate them to schools or community gardens. And usually we'll have some plants left over.
I had a question earlier on, can you give some examples of what garden guidelines would be? You said, leadership in step 1, and you said establish garden guidelines.
Yes. Now, we have a mixed greens gardens here. We have 68 beds, and we have over 70 gardeners. this area is so huge, so big, and it takes just a minute for you can walk away and we're seeded with weeds. So our rules and guidelines are when at least once a week, check in on your plot. If you got any seeds that's coming, go ahead and get those up before they start to seed and spread over the whole lots. Some of the other guidelines are what's going to be planted in the bed. For example, our beds are 200 square feet long. And so one of our guidelines is you can plant a fourth of that with a perennial like strawberries. Okay. Now, but if you want to plant something like a hibiscus, which grows 15 feet tall or sometimes 12 feet wide, we have a garden space in the back where we're putting the bigger items. Our guidelines are everybody has a task. We have sign-in sheets in the shed where at least once a week, take on a task. Somebody needs to put down some mulch, maybe in the walkways, or somebody would help take a section and just help with the weeds. Or, but we have those sign-up sheets just for tasks. I'm sorry, there's a train going by. They're right on time. And other guidelines are our locks. We have a locks on our gates, and we change those combination locks every year. So our guideline is to change those combination locks every single year. And my job is to get those combination codes out to everybody and also post it in our newsletter. So I have a monthly newsletter. So every year we change those combinations, and it's usually a number that has connection to a historical moment. And listen, I'm giving out our passcodes, but anyway, but anyway, that just keeps everything secure and everything fresh for everybody. Let's see I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I was just thinking about faith communities, and if anybody has questions, please feel free to unmute yourselves, ask your question, or you can drop it in the chat. But I know faith communities who may be trying to start a community garden and be like, okay, what kind of guidelines? Like, what kind of guidelines do we need? Like, how do we distribute work responsibilities and all that kind of stuff?
And I have something that I sent to you, Nicole. I hope you received it. Make sure everybody it's online. It's a publication that was written by Alyssa McKim with North Carolina Agricultural and Technical University, A&T. A&T did this. It's A to Z, how to start your community garden. And it also will stop and ask you, what is your mission? If you don't have a mission, everybody sits down and then you're going to come up with a mission. It will also ask you, it has a budget sheet in here, and it lists all the tools, and you have to, you can go online or go to a big box store and figure out how much tools will cost. So you need to have a budget, what the soil is going to cost, how much your water bill is going to be every month. So this is A to Z. Creating, it also has a section on creating guidelines, who should be on your team, surveying everybody. So it's wonderful. This is what I carry with me every day when I'm out in gardens. And I usually give them one as well, but I always get them started from this publication. It's not going to lead you wrong. And also here in Guilford County, we have the White Street landfill, and we get our soil and our compost and our wood mulch there. But it's at a discount rate, and you get truckloads full. And in High Point, they have Ingleside, and High Point has a grant that they help nonprofits get soil and mulch and wood mulch and compost at no cost. Now, also with our compost, if you are a school and you go to a facility and you need compost or wood mulch or soil, let them know your school, and 9 times out of 10 they'll give it to you.
Mm,
You need, okay, always let them know what you need it for, and it really helps a lot, because that's what we do here in Guilford County, in Greensboro, and that is let the facilities know that we're a school,
mhm.
and if we can get this for free.
Somebody had a question and they wanted to know if someone can tour the farm at North Carolina A&T.
Yes. Yes, they can. Yeah, just give them a call, and they'll give you a time and date, and they'll let you know when to come. And please, I advise anybody to please do that. And they do have allotments.
Oh, okay. At
So
that
you can
garden.
always go out
Okay.
there too as well. And they provide water, soil, mulch, they provide all that, and education. And we do the same here at our mixed greens. We provide all that, the water, the soil, the mulch, everything's here. And the tools. And that's another thing you may want to decide of how you want to do the tools. So we don't rent them out, but you can use them.
Right.
We also have a tiller on site as well. And another advice is, when you go to yard sales, and now's the time, and usually the fall's a good time, but when you go to yard sales and Goodwills and Salvation Armies and places like that, head straight for the garden tool session, because you're going to get them at a discount rate, and you'll be surprised people give up. They probably moving or moving, they're downsizing or moving to a retirement center. You'll be surprised of the quality shovels that they had to give up, or the tools, and some have gardening gloves, and man, you can really rack up that way as well.
See, and are there any other questions? Anybody have any other questions for Crystal? There's one thing I do want to follow up on. I think somebody's unmuted. Yep, we got one person who might have a question, I think.
Crystal, I was listening in from Caswell County, and I put the Forsyth County Extension information in the chat box for someone who asked about their plant sale. On their website, it says it's going to be May 5th at the Arboretum at Tanglewood Park.
Wonderful.
So it's at 4201 Manor House Circle in Clemens on May 5th at the Arboretum.
And that's just right around the corner.
Yes.
And ours is around Mother's Day. And I think ours is going to be online. You can select the plants online, and then we'll pack them up for you, and you just drive up and pick them up. I think that's
Oh, that's great.
It's been working out really well.
So if somebody was looking for soil mulch, this is my last question. If somebody's looking for soil and mulch, how would they go about looking for those places where they could get discounted like mulch and soil by the truckload?
I would Google it and then make calls is what I would do. And if you have a local, like let me tell you what Lowe's did for me. This time of the year, they have straw and different things that they have these tractor trailers in the parking lot, and then they have stuff that falls out the bag. I asked for the stuff that was on the ground and I just asked them if I can have, and they said, yeah, sure, because see, they can't sell it in a broken container. So I just scooped it up and I put it in some bags, and that's how I got stuff as well. But some things is broken, the bags or something, just ask for it.
So if people were Googling, like what would they look for? Like a garden center, or like what would they Google?
Yeah, garden centers, you got the big box stores, like Lowe's and Home Depot. And also you look for gardening centers near me, and they'll give you a list of what's near you. Make a trip out there, give them a call, talk to the manager. I always talk to the manager, I always let them know I'm in the store and I appreciate, anything they can do for me, So I'm always making sure that they know about cooperative extension or a school that I'm working with and the needs that they have.
Okay, excellent. And was it Ralph put in the chat that Mecklenburg County, for example, sells and sometimes gives out mulch?
Mhm. Yes, yeah, I know that every now and then I get an email from the city of High Point, and they're always giving away mulch or wood mulch or mulch, and or leaf mulch, and they got so much of it they got to give it away. They just give it away. And I use on my newsletters, if Nicole, if you have anybody that can get to High Point or Greensboro, get them on my newsletter list. I need their emails because I'll send out, hey, they're giving it away. And they don't care who's gonna get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Just trying to get rid of it.
excellent. Oh, somebody's saying, please offer this again in person. So
Okay.
if there are no more questions, I will say that Partners in Health and Wholeness, probably in the Triad area, I'll be organizing potentially a garden tour. Crystal and I may work together on that. I told her I would do a tour, but we may organize it for like a whole group of health leads or clergy who are thinking about, a community garden. And we can look at if there are other folks in different counties who are on this call. Partners in Health and Wholeness, we could do a little research and see, maybe partner with the cooperative extension to do maybe some garden tours and maybe like a workshop planning out your community garden. So I will say that that is on our minds and something that we're looking at organizing.
And
If there are,
I'm
go ahead,
at
Crystal.
the City of High Point Library this Saturday, the 15th. I am having a hands-on workshop in the garden at the High Point Library. They have a learning garden outside. I think it's on Elm Street, but the library is on 901 North Main Street. I think it's 901 North Main. And so I'll be out there Saturday. But Nicole, if you want me to do another workshop, I'll bring you seeds.
Okay, we are down for
Bring
the
you
seeds.
seeds. I'll bring you, I'll bring you all the materials and everything.
Okay.
So and sometimes I'll, if I get some transplants, real inexpensive, or I get, somebody gives them to me, I'll give those out as well at my workshops.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Excellent. Fantastic. Somebody's just joining us. Thank you, Crystal. If there are no more questions, we are going to wrap it up. We are at 11:59, so
Oh,
time went by
what?
really fast.
It's been an hour
Yes.
already?
Yes. Yep. There are no more questions. Oh, we do have somebody who is a part of a community garden, Chapel Hill, who would love to be on a garden tour. So we will keep that in mind. So thank you, Crystal, again for your presentation, and
Don't forget about
please
this.
know that we will send out an email if you were registered for this webinar that contains a lot of the resources that were shared about, and some links also, and some planning sheets, a planting guide that Crystal has sent to us that we can add to that, the link to the Community Fresh, developing and sustaining a community garden, a video that you could share with a group that you're trying to get to develop a community garden that kind of talks about how to do it. So we will send those out in a follow-up email in about a week, or maybe less, more than likely.
That'll be
So
good.
thank you, Crystal. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call. We will just do a quick closing and a benediction. For trees, for water, for air, we thank you, God. We thank you for the ways that we are connected to creation. We thank you for the ways that we can be co-creators. We thank you for the ways that you remind us that we drink the same water and we breathe the same air. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody, for being on the call.
You.
If you have any extra questions, drop them in the chat or ask them, unmute yourselves. If not, this is the end of our call. We thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, everybody.